And here's what I mean by it does the work for you. When you've really established a habit, when you've really ingrained in it, when you have installed it into who you are as part of the way you show up with life, as part of your identity, as just part of who you are. This is just part of you. When it is established at that level, it is so much easier to go through with the habit than to not. It is so much easier to just do the thing than it is to not do it. Welcome to Breakthrough Mode, the podcast where we intentionally get into the driver's seat of our lives, shift out of monotony and mediocrity, and step on the gas towards becoming the person we were always meant to become. Hello and welcome to episode 225 on the Breakthrough Mode podcast. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. Today, I want to chat with you about something that I have been thinking about that is incredibly powerful. So, of course, I have recently, in the last few years, fallen in love with this idea of habits. And now habits are always something that has been there on the horizon of my life, knowing that if I could just have the right habits, then I could finally figure my life out. In a very vague way, I realized the power of habits. And the more I lean into habits and their power, the more I realize how true that is. Because there are all sorts of things that we want to experience in our lives. And this came to me very clearly when I was having a conversation with a friend. And she was telling me about her weight loss journey and that, she has tried so many times to lose weight. And, it feels like every January 1st, she tries again. And she's like, I have done this so many times. And I totally relate. If you have heard my story about how I tried to establish a morning routine, I tried for over a decade to establish this morning routine. And maybe I didn't always start on January 1st, but whatever. I tried and failed so many times to do this. I had that day one feeling so many times. I knew exactly what my friend was talking about. And I applauded her for trying again because I know how hard that is. When you feel like you have this long list of failed attempts, I know how hard it is to try again and potentially add another one to that list. I get it. I get it so much. I truly do. But as I walked away from that conversation, I realized that we set these goals in our life, right? Like we want to hit, this ideal weight. We want to have, you know, our house clean. We want to, finish up that project. We want to publish that out in the world. We want to, start this business. We want to, have this level of sales or whatever. There are these goals that we set, health goals, money goals, lifestyle goals, relationship goals. We have these goals that we set as if they are a one and done situation. As if once we reach it, that's it. That we've made it. We've gotten there. We've done it. We've done the thing. We have accomplished it. And there are goals out there that are one and done. I'm going to give you a quick example because we're not actually going to be talking about the one and done. We are talking about something else. Okay, so Jake and I were chatting about this, and he said, you don't necessarily need a habit to write a book. You just need the consistency to sit down and write it, to sit down and work on it on a consistent basis until you finish it. And I was like, yes, that's totally true. Totally with you. However, if you wanted to be a best-selling, multi-best-selling author, you would want the habit of sitting down and consistently writing, because you're not just going to write the one book and be done. You want multiple books. You want this to be part of who you are. You want this to be part of your lifestyle. We're not done when we've finished the first book. We're just getting started. So we do want, in that situation, we do want the habit there to support the lifestyle, to support the continual results. So it really matters a lot what it is that you want and how that contributes. If you just have the one book on your heart, I just want to write this one book and get this one book out into the world, then yes, you just need consistency. You need a plan. You write this many pages a day, buckle up, just get it done, the end. But if you want more of something that is part of who you are and what you do and how you show up in the world on a continual basis, then you don't just need consistency, you need a habit, because the habit will work quietly in the background to create what it is that you want to experience on a continual basis. So the differentiating factor there is what you want to experience on a continual basis. Do you want to just hit your weight goal and that's it? Not likely. Do you want your house clean one time and that's it? Not me. Do you want to just finish that one project? The one project? Sometimes. Or do you want that one project to be in a series of projects? Do you do you want to finish the one artwork, finish the one film, finish the one whatever, the one project? Or is it just one in a series of things? Because you want to continue to do that as part of who you are, as part of how you show up, as part of what you do and how you contribute and how you engage with the world, because that's just something you do. And if you want it to just be something you do, just a way that you live, just a way that you experience life, underneath that is a habit that supports it. Underneath that is this quiet, not just consistency, but this quiet, consistent doing of the thing, showing up in that way that makes it all happen, that creates the result that you want, the finishing of the project, the maintaining the ideal weight, the cleaning, the cleanliness of the house, the whatever it is. There's a habit underneath that needs to be established for that continual experience. Going back to the author, right? If you want to continually experience publishing books out in the world, you want that to be a regular occurrence for you, then the sitting down and writing those books has to be a habitual occurrence for you. If you want to have your house clean all of the time, or, the majority of the time, you need to have a habitual experience of cleaning the house. If you want to maintain the ideal weight, you need to have a habit of exercising and eating well in order to support that result. And we forget that. We set these goals at the beginning of the year. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want this, and all of that. But sometimes, again, depending on the goal, depending on what you want that experience to be like, if you want it to be one time or continual, you don't actually just want the thing. You want a habit of continually creating that thing. we don't acknowledge that sometimes. We tell ourselves we just want the thing. But here's the great benefit to actually building the habit and not just attaining the goal. Because the habit, if you build the habit will take care of the rest. The habit will just make it so that you not only reach your goal, but then you sustain it, then you maintain it, then you keep it. Then it's just part of who you are. I believe it was Aristotle that said, like, we are what we repeatedly do. And the end of that phrase is excellence then is not a trait or something. I don't know. Excellence is a habit is what he says, essentially, at the end of it. You can look it up. But he says we are what we repeatedly do. So if you repeatedly sit down to work on books or to work on your artwork or to work on your whatever your project is, if you repeatedly sit down and work on that and put that effort into it, then you become that author, you become that artist, you become that person who does that thing because you are what you repeatedly do. And of course, excellence falls into that too, because if you sit down and you give your all and you commit to improvement and progression and becoming better at whatever it is you do all of the time, then you're also committing to developing excellence. You're also committing to being better at the thing. You're not just content with doing the thing, you're content with getting better at doing the thing. But the only way you can get better at doing the thing is to keep doing the thing. I love those quotes that float around the internet that's like, be brave enough to be bad at something new, because you start at being bad at it and you get better by continually doing the thing. As adults, sometimes we feel like we should just be able to be good at it after a couple of tries. We can't really hardly stand to be bad at it. We can't really hardly stand to show up that way because maybe we believe it's like indicative of everything that we can do. Like, oh, if people think that I suck at this, then they must think I suck at absolutely everything else. We get all weird about it, but the only way to get better is to keep doing the thing. However, that's not what we're chatting about today. We are chatting about establishing this quiet, hardworking habit that does the work for you. And here's what I mean by it does the work for you. When you've really established a habit, when you've really ingrained in it, when you have installed it into who you are as part of the way you show up with life, as part of your identity, as just part of who you are. This is just part of you. When it is established at that level, it is so much easier to go through with the habit than to not. It is so much easier to just do the thing than it is to not do it. This seems kind of crazy, but it's actually true. Today was my 521st day of getting up at 4:30 in the morning and exercising and running through my ritual, right? This habit, this routine that I tried for over a decade to establish, could not freaking do. Now, at this point, it is so much part of who I am that it is so much easier to just get up in the morning and run it than it is to not do. And you're thinking, how in the world is that true, Megan? Like, what? How is it easier to get up at 4:30 than to not? Well, here's what happens when I decide to not. If I choose to not, I will just lay there awake. I will lay there and my body will be like, we should be exercising right now. Why are we laying in bed? And then it feels like a complete waste because I know that at some point in the day, I'm going to have to try to schedule in my workout. And I know that once I do get up, I'm just going to be chasing the day. I'm going to feel behind before the kids even get out of bed. I'm going to feel like, oh, I should have just established myself, and it's going to feel worse. It's going to feel worse. because I know that I will feel rushed, I will feel pressured, I will feel like now I've got to find time to exercise, now I've got to find time to do my writing, now I've got to find time to meditate. But if I just get up and do it, then I don't have to worry about any of that. I don't have to think about any of that because I get up, I run my ritual, and it's done. And it's so much easier to just do it because it's not a difference between am I going to like exercise and meditate and journal and all of that. It's if I don't do it now, then I have to squeeze it in later. And that is stressful because I have a full day. So it's so much easier, so much better to just get it done because the exercise, the meditation, the writing, that's part of how I set myself up for the day because that's part of how I show up. That's part of how I engage. It's part of who I am. That is when you have a habit quietly running in the background. That is when you have a habit doing the work for you. I use no willpower. I use no discipline to get up in the morning. I just do it because the habit takes over and I get to enjoy the results of that habit. So this came together really powerfully for me. From this conversation that I had with a friend to me stepping off the scale one morning and I thought, man, it feels like maintaining my weight is just on autopilot. I don't even think about it anymore. And over the podcast, it's really fun to look back because I've had this, fluctuation with depression and anxiety and all sorts of things. I've had this fluctuation in my weight, and you can see it in my face. You could so see it in my face. But once I started my morning ritual with the exercise included, that took over for me. I didn't have to think about it anymore. It wasn't a thought anymore. No willpower, no discipline. This habit took over for me. And then I can step off the scale and think, man, I feel like my weight is just on autopilot. Never have to think about it. It's just what it is because I do the work every single day. Now I realize habits aren't sexy. Habits aren't cool. Nobody cares. I get it. I had a brother-in-law a few weeks ago, maybe over Christmas, maybe longer than that. Doesn't matter. He came up to me. He said, Megan, what are you doing? What are you taking? What are you doing that has made you lose so much weight? And I was just like, he said, can I have some? Can I have some? And I said, yes, you can have it. It's a half an hour of riding your bike every single morning, no excuses. And he goes, no, thanks. I get it. We don't want to. We are disinterested. However, if you want that continual result, if you want that continual experience, the easiest way to do it is to establish the habit that will serve it up for you on a platter as just the way you do life. The easiest way to continually have that experience, whatever experience it is that you want, is to establish the habit that will do all of the work for you. You're still going to show up. You're still going to do the work. And what I mean by do the work for you is you don't have to push yourself. You don't need willpower. You don't need discipline. You don't have to make yourself do it. I don't make myself get up in the morning. I just do it. That's what I mean by it's doing the work for you. You don't have to work at it anymore because it's just part of how you run things. It's just part of your operating system, if you will. It's just how you do life. It's just how you show up. That's what you really want to establish. That's what is going to serve you for longer. That's what's going to make the thing sustainable. That's what's going to make you be able to maintain the thing. The thing is, it's not just about reaching the goal. It's about continually having that experience. It's about continually living that way. It's not just the one-time thing. Now, there are some goals, like we've said, some goals are one-time things. However, there are lots of things that we just want as our way of life, as our way of experiencing things, as our way of operating. This is just normal to me. This is just how we live. This is just what I do because I am this kind of person. But it's the habit underneath. It's the habit underneath that does the work. Now, in order to establish that habit, that's like the trick part, right? 'Cause you're like, okay, shut up, Megan. I get it. I need the habit underneath. Now, I suck at habits, or I'm no good at habits, or whatever you think about habits. I get it. Putting in that part, that's the work. That's where you're going to need the willpower. That's where you're going to need the discipline. That's what you're going to need to do. That's where you need to put your focus, honestly. That's where you focus in on the thing, because then the habit, after it's established, after it's installed, after it's part of who you are, it will continue to go without you thinking about it. So yes, put in that work. Use your willpower, use your discipline, do whatever you got to do to establish this habit, because that is what will serve you. Now, I get it. We suck at habits, right? Or we think we suck at habits. We're actually really good at habits. We don't give ourselves enough credit about it. So, because I have done this whole deep dive, I've connected these thoughts in like this powerful way for myself and for you. Now, you're welcome. I also created this free training, this free 5-day training. I called it Results on Autopilot. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. There are 5 videos. You sign up, the first video comes to you immediately. You watch that video, the next video comes to you the next day. Over 5 days, you'll receive these 5 videos that will help you establish the habit that goes underneath the result that you want to continually experience. That's what this training is about. It's about establishing that habit. I'm talking about mistakes. I'm talking about habit hacks. I'm talking about consistency versus habits, because that's an important distinction. I am talking about the habit journey, what that actually looks like. Spoiler alert, it takes more than 28 days to establish a habit, and to have it fully installed to the point that I'm talking about now, where you don't have to think about it as part of how you do things. So this 5-day training on establishing habits, so that you can actually not just accomplish the thing, but accomplish the thing over and over as your way of being, as who you are now. That is there for you, totally free, if you want it. Because I created it for you, because I realize how powerful this is. This is truly life-changing. Just think about it for a second. The thing that you want to experience over and over again. Maybe it is with your weight. Maybe it's with your work. Maybe it's with your projects. Maybe it's with your relationships or your house, or just who it is you want to be in this world, the way you want to contribute, the way you want to show up. Think about it for a second. If you were to reach that goal, be that person, complete that project, publish the thing, have the relationship, whatever it is, if you were to have that experience, but not just once, but create it over and over and over and over again, just as a way that you do life, wouldn't that change your life? Wouldn't that change your experience of life? Wouldn't that make a massive difference to you? And so I think the answer is yes. If it would make a massive difference to you, wouldn't it then be worth it to take the time to establish the habit that will give it to you over and over and over again? Wouldn't that be worth it? And while I said spoiler alert, it doesn't take 28 days, it takes longer than that. But it might not take as long as you think. It's certainly not going to take all year. It's certainly not. But if you take the time to establish this underlying, quiet, hardworking habit, it will change your life. Because that's inevitable. Because you are changing what you are doing on repeat, which is going to change who you are, and it's going to change who you are into who you want to become and help you show up in this world the way you want to show up and have this experience of life that you want to have. Wow. Like, isn't that incredible? That's incredible. I get it. We don't care about habits. Habits are boring. They're not sexy. They're not fun. But what the habit creates for you, that is not boring. That is fun. That is exciting. That is what it's about. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. That's what I have for you today. Results on autopilot will be a link for you in the show notes. You can sign up totally free. Enjoy my 5 videos. I totally love you. Bye for now.